This is our ILS data management project. We are Team 6. From left to right, our group consists of Arnav, Elliot, Karthik, and Alex. During the pandemic, we have all seen changes in behavior due to mandates, regulations, and public health worries. One of these things were how people shopped and bought goods. At the beginning of the pandemic, we saw many people race to stores in order to buy goods like toilet paper and canned foods, with the fear that this may be the end of the world. Then we saw less and less people physically go to the store and instead buy everything they had online. And that interested us. Seeing this, we wanted to test our observations and see if this was just a worldwide effect or if it was just in the United States. So we researched the effect of the pandemic on e-commerce and retail sales in the US and UK.
Next, we will be describing our data management plan.
We obtained datasets from the Census Bureau and the Office for National Statistics. Using the Darwin Core Archive, our team created a README file that gives an overview of what is contained in our team folder by following specific guidelines.
Primarily archived and stored into Google Drive and will also be stored in each one of our personal computers and devices. The organization will be throughout the division of 5 files. The first one is data visualizations, which will contain the visual aspects of the research. The second is the metadata, which will be the metadata for each file and data set assembled. The third is the README, which will have a brief description of the research. The fourth is the UK retail sales, which contain the data sets for both online and retail sales in the UK. And the last folder will be the US retail sales, which contain the online and in-person retail sales data sets for the United States. And we'll also have the ILS management plan, which contain the data management plan for this research. The data will be made accessible through a link generated by Google Drive and will be public for anyone that has the link. The link will be shared in a subreddit created by us for students and other teams to share their data. And in the Reddit, we'll have in the description we'll describe the reuse rights and the distribution policies for the research. And last, the data will be after 4 years shared to the Purdue University repository, which will take control over the access and under their guidelines.
Getting into visualizations, our first visualization is based around the National Statistics retail sales in 2020. What this data presents is a measure of index retail trade volume for a variety of countries throughout the entirety of 2020. What we wanted to focus on was just the United Kingdom. The way this data is measured is by an index of retail trade volume, which is dependent on a multitude of factors, one of the bigger ones being turnover of retail trade. What we found ultimately through making our visualization is that during the months of March and April, when the pandemic was still mostly new, the retail trade index showed a steep decline, versus during the coming months, and especially towards fall and winter, the retail trade index was much higher as restrictions started to loosen up and people started to go out more.
Going on to visualization 2, it is Great Britain's internet sales from 2013 to 2020. This is our raw data. It measures internet sales index against the month and year. Internet sales index is basically the demand and actual volume of goods sold on the internet. As you can see in our graph that we made, there is a slight increase from 2008 to 2020 of goods sold on the internet, and then there's a huge spike right about when the pandemic hits. The pandemic has really altered the way people think of buying goods, as now more and more people are choosing to buy stuff on the internet compared to in person.
Next up is visualization. Our first data set for visualization
the conclusions we made from this project is that in-person retail stores overall saw a decline in sales and revenue during the early stages of the pandemic, and during the same time frame, online retail and e-commerce sales saw a significant increase. In-person retail sales seem to be on a rebounding trend and are already back to pre-pandemic numbers as restrictions are lifted across the country. However, a major surprise is that e-commerce sales seem destined to continue as people shift to using more digital technologies and have begun to appreciate the comforts that online shopping provides. Finally, this is a summary of each person's contributions to the project, and this is a summary of the citations we used throughout the project. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed.